Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Elevate Your Path, Marketing Professionals of NIRSA. Today we are featuring Melanie Alverio, who works at Rowan University as the Assistant Director of Marketing, Membership Services, and Business Operations. My name is Rochelle, and I'm the Aquatics and Youth Programs Coordinator at Western Washington University and a longtime member of RecTrat. Thanks so much for being here today, Melanie.
Thank you for inviting me.
So could you talk to us a little bit about who you are and where you work and what your role is? I know I already covered that, but yeah, maybe how long you've been at the university and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, my name is Melanie Alverio. I am the Assistant Director for Marketing, Member Services, and Business Operations at Rowan University, which is in New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. So I oversee front desk operations. I have some administrative functions in the office with budgets and purchases and reconciliations and all that fun stuff. And I also oversee our marketing team and our marketing plan for the department. And I've been with Rowan University for 20 years. I am a proud Rowan alum. So I got my undergraduate degree here in business with a specialization in marketing. And then I got my MBA from Rowan as well. I did leave for a year. So I like to tell people I did leave. I worked in corporate for a little bit in business to business, and that was not for me. And then I was fortunate enough to apply for this position once it was created and get it. And I've been here ever since.
Sometimes you've got to leave for a little bit to realize where you really want to be. I totally feel that. When I moved from the West Coast, I was like, maybe I should move back. So how long have you been involved with NIRSA?
So I've been involved with NIRSA since graduate school. I think it was my second year in grad school. I went to my first conference and became a member then, and I've been a member since.
Great, thank you. And then you mentioned that you've been at Rowan for 20 years and that you left to go to corporate to do business-to-business sales. Could you maybe briefly talk a little bit about maybe a few of the bigger differences in working in corporate versus like the environment you're working in now?
Yeah, so I had no interaction with the end customer, and it was all about how to promote these. It was in the manufacturing sector, so it was talking a lot to the businesses, some of them which were overseas, on what their needs were, what kind of marketing materials and all that they needed for us to produce, what kind of educational and informational pieces they needed. So for me, that wasn't fun because I was so used to working with students and talking to students. And so I definitely missed that piece. My graduate assistantship was a lot in member services. And so I was always out in the front talking to everybody coming in. And in corporate, I was in my little cubby the whole time on the phone or on the computer. And so the day did not go by fast, fast enough anyway.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit about this. So you were in corporate and then you moved back to campus recreation. So, and I know you mentioned a few things that you missed. What were some of the big reasons why you decided to shift back to work at your current position, but also within marketing?
Right. So marketing was always an interest of mine. And for me, I worked in campus rec as a student worker. And I think like a lot of people, it's one of those positions where you never thought can turn into a career. And I laugh because some of my friends from college that also worked here, they make fun of me and they say, "Oh, we can't believe you still work at the rec." So I think the environment here, very family-like. So I miss that. I miss that everybody wanted to help everybody out, that people cared about each other, and really cared about students. So that caring environment was missing in corporate.
No, I completely understand that. I was hired as a lifeguard at 15, and I never thought 16 years later I would now be teaching lifeguarding classes and still have a lifeguarding certification. So I totally feel that. So, what does diversity, equity, and inclusion look like to you in regards to marketing on your campus specifically?
I think that when it comes to marketing on campus and DEI, we need to think about how we're creating pieces and engagement opportunities where our students and the campus community feels like they're invited to come in, and then that we're also creating opportunities where they can actually participate. So I think that we really need to look at different populations and make sure that we are eliminating barriers to participation so that they are able to take full advantage of everything that we offer. So whether it's looking at our, neurodivergent population, looking at the populations with different abilities, or some of our students that have financial insecurity, I think all those factors are really important when we're looking at DEI, and that we need to consider all of that when we're trying to market to the campus community. How can we create that sense of belonging, like you want to be here and you can participate and you belong here. And this is an area that we're all still growing and learning. So we're fortunate enough on this campus that we have a division of DEI. So we have a great resource for anything that we need.
Oh, that's really cool. And not to put you on the spot, but do you have any things that you can think of, like, 'cause as far as talking about like neurodivergent folks trying to come on, like maybe into the rec center specifically?
Yeah.
Because I know that that's like, I had never heard that word until a couple years ago. And then like being diagnosed with ADHD and then talking to my staff about it, a lot of my staff members actually have ADHD or other types of neurodivergent things going on.
Yeah.
And so that was like, the last year has been really eye-opening for me as far as like realizing how many people think differently.
Right. So this summer we've been really looking at our positions, and are there any positions that can cater to this population? Because typically we would think like, oh, nope, they're not good for that, or they don't fit that position. But we know that we do have opportunities. So how can we look at all of our current positions differently and see where this population, can help us? We've also we've done walkthroughs with some students just to look at our equipment pieces, to see, our students with the different abilities, to see which pieces they can use, so that we can create a website and a resource for students on what's available here for you, so that they don't feel like they have to come in and try to figure things out themselves. So we are in the process now of creating a web page with all those resources. But before it goes live, we're also going to solicit some help from students that may have a visual impairment, to make sure that they can easily, read and see what's on our page, and so that it's helpful for them. So like this is something that, a couple of years ago we didn't think about, and now we're like, wow, we're missing out on this population, and we need to do better.
Thank you. And you talked a little bit about, again, engaging with the kind of the stakeholders, right? And so could you talk to us a little bit more about how y'all are engaging with your people who you're trying to market to and your campus community?
Yeah, so I'm involved in a lot of committees on campus, and so they range from, our assessment committees and student relations committee. I'm also an advisor to student organization. We have a lot of our professional staff are also involved in a lot, and so we're always, for us, it's easy to spread the word out to all of our campus partners, because we do work a lot with different groups on campus. And so we use them a lot as a resource to engage with their students that maybe are not coming here a lot, but that they're spreading the word about what we do offer and how we can accommodate.
Great, thank you. And you mentioned that you've got these campus partners and that you know people in a lot of departments. And I know a lot of folks are struggling with like interdepartmental collaboration or inter-university collaboration and kind of like building those relationships. And you've also been at your university for 20 years. Do you have any tips or strategies for building those kind of, especially because campus recreation can be siloed sometimes if you have a standalone building or whatever? Do you have any strategies or tips for folks who are kind of struggling to create those relationships or trying to figure out a strategy to do that?
Yeah, so for me, it's been helpful to be a part of different committees across campus, and I build connections that way. But if that opportunity doesn't exist, then I would recommend just going out to maybe different programs or workshops or events that are happening on campus. And that way you can network with people that are attending, get to know them better, or the presenters, and kind of make your connections that way.
Great, thank you so much. And then how do you utilize students in your marketing practices?
So we rely heavily on our students. In our beginning, the beginning of the semester, we have our all staff meetings and trainings. And so I tell our student staff, like, you are our ambassadors. So you're the ones that are going to help with word of mouth marketing. And so we make sure in those monthly meetings that all of our student staff are aware of any programs that are coming up, any policy changes, anything like that, because a lot of their friends are asking them questions. So we want to make sure that they're prepared to answer those questions. But we also, our marketing team is made up of students. So I say that I oversee marketing, but the graduate coordinator and our student staff are really the ones that are creating the content. Like, they know best what's going on, they know what's trending. So I give them a lot of autonomy to be creative, and I just make sure that they're not overlooking anything, that they're still following policy, that they're meeting the university guidelines, and things like that. And then we also have a student street team that is made up of students outside of the marketing team. So we try to recruit students in different program areas so that they can go out and promote what's going on in their area. So our students are heavily involved in the marketing process.
Yeah, and it just seems wild, like when you survey folks, at least here, and we're like, oh, how'd you hear about our programs? It's always friends.
Yeah.
It's always friends, and it's always word of mouth, and maybe like 5% of the people are like, oh, I saw an Instagram post. I saw a flyer. So I think that's really smart to utilize your students, because if they're having a good time, people will definitely want to join.
Yeah.
Could you talk to us about what your creative process looks like?
Yeah, so for me, we'll get marketing requests from different areas, or sometimes our own marketing team wants to put on an event. So we start with just thinking about the goal of that project or that campaign. And then I also have like a file of inspiration. So if I go somewhere and there's something that I like, a brochure, if I go to a museum and there's a brochure that I like, even if it's just like the colors or something, or the layout, I grab stuff, and I have a file that I just kind of pull out to see if anything kind of like, oh, this is what it should look like, or let's try to use these colors, or when I look at this, I kind of feel a certain way, maybe this will work. So do some research, and then brainstorm ideas, kind of let it sit for a little bit, revisit it again. And then once I settle, or the team settles on what it is that we want to do, we try to get feedback from others, other areas, and just to make sure there isn't anything that we may have overlooked. And then we go ahead with implementation and see how it goes.
Well, and that's a really cool idea to look for inspiration in like other places. So
yeah, outside of campus rec, like other industries, there might be, I don't know, a billboard or something that, you know, I just kind of take a picture and I save it.
no, and that's really cool, like, because you can find inspiration everywhere, and I feel like that's if you're in, like, I'm trying to make TikToks for Rec Chat, and if I'm having a little bit of a block, so maybe I'll just go wander around campus and see if I can figure my life out and have a moment of inspiration. So, yeah, I think that's definitely something great to keep in mind. So as your colleagues are asking for marketing requests, how do you support them within marketing, and then also how do they support you?
So we try to meet early, either in the semester or or in the summer or early in the semester, to talk about what things they have coming up, what their goals are for the year, where they feel like there's an area they might be struggling in. And so then we'll kind of talk about some ideas, what we can do. But I like to mention that, marketing is in my title, but it takes everyone. Like, you can't do it alone. And so I think for us, especially, we all really depend on each other. And we know that without each other, like helping each other with research or learning more about, the target market, or if there's an issue, learning more about what the problem is, that it takes really the whole team to execute a plan. And we depend on each other a lot. So, again, I'm fortunate that I am in a very supportive environment here. And so that's how we kind of handle that, support each other.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And it sounds like, I mean, Rowan's doing some really cool stuff. So this is my shameless plug. Rowan has a beautiful website. Their social media is fantastic. If anyone watching this needs some inspiration, I have a bunch of campus rec that I personally follow on my own Instagram account. Rowan is one of them, and then I funnel some stuff that Rowan puts out to our own marketing person to be like, look at this. This is cool.
Oh, thank you.
So if anyone watching this needs some inspiration, they're a great place to start to try to figure out, at least find the divine inspiration of the marketing gods, right?
Something might spark.
No, for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Melanie. And thanks so much for everybody that's tuning in today. This is episode 2. And if you're interested in checking out either of our past series for Elevate Your Path, we have the Past Presidents series, and we also have the official series, which are available on YouTube and IGTV. And they will also be coming out in podcast form. So there's a lot of content, and yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Rec Chat. Thanks so much.